at Dallas. This is her second stint with the
Rickea and Brittany Griner.
Griner and Jackson.
So Rickea Jackson just jumped headfirst into the Brittany Griner drama, and she didn't come empty-handed. She dropped a twist that might finally explain the generational tension bubbling between the two stars. And yes, it's tied to the whispers and rumors that have been floating around about Brittany for weeks now. More specifically, it's about how Rickea allegedly found out the truth about Brittany's real identity, not the one that's been polished up to fit the WNBA's so-called woke image. According to insiders, Rickea sat on this secret for a while. She didn't know how to move with it, so she kept her mouth shut and focused on her game. But now that people are labeling her as the league's troublemaker, she's done playing quiet. Rickea's ready to expose everything, and she's leaving it up to the fans to decide who's really the villain in this story. This WNBA saga has more twists than a late-night telenovela, and things are getting messy fast, so let's dive in.
It makes absolutely no sense for you to, on one hand, say you're standing up for women's rights and women's pay, and then on the other hand, saying it's criminal that a biological man plays in women's sports. As you are competing in women's sports and not the NBA, if you felt like there was no difference, there was no advantages that men have, then why don't you play in the NBA?
Lately, the WNBA has gone from barely making headlines to becoming one of the most chaotic leagues in pro sports. And now, two of its most talked about stars, Rickea Jackson and Brittany Griner, are caught in a beef that came out of nowhere and took fans by surprise. Whatever you thought this league was before, forget it, because the drama just hit a whole new level. And Rickea, she's not biting her tongue anymore. She's spilling all the tea on how she uncovered that Brittany Griner is basically the WNBA's golden girl for everything woke. Rickea's calling out the double standard, like how does one player get away with breaking one of the league's most basic fundamental rules about player eligibility and face zero backlash? According to Rickea, that's exactly what's been going on with Brittany, but here's the real kicker. How did she even find out the truth about one of the best-kept secrets in the WNBA? Well, it all traces back to a heated moment in September last year during a Mercury versus Sparks matchup. That's when everything started to unravel. Just before the game was headed into a break, about 20 seconds on the clock, Rickea and her teammate Lee Guru were doing a standard box out on Brittany. And for anyone who's ever watched a game, boxing out is just a normal defensive move, nothing shady, but something in that play triggered way more than a little contact. It sparked a deeper conflict, one that led Rickea to start asking serious questions about what's really going on behind the scene, and what she found left her shook. Out of nowhere, boom, Brittany threw an elbow and smashed Rickea right in the face. No warning, no build-up, just straight aggression. And you already know Rickea wasn't about to let that slide. She stepped up, confronted Brittany on the spot, and the two nearly came to blows before teammates and coaches had to rush in and pull them apart.
Debut at Dallas. This is her second stint with the
Rickea and Brittany Griner.
Griner and Jackson.
Boy, that developed very quickly.
Both Brittany and Rickea got ejected after the scuffle, but when they returned later, it was crystal clear where the crowd stood. Let's just say it wasn't Team Brittany.
Griner was caught on tape during a game with the Indiana Fever, dropping racial slurs against Caitlin Clark, and pretty obviously doing so.
Exact fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
And it doesn't take a lot of genius to lip read Brittany Griner, whose voice, by the way, is about as low as mine is, calling her trash and an effing white girl. Now, of course, if Caitlin Clark had ever suggested the same in reverse, using black as opposed to white in that sentence, that'd be the end of her WNBA career. But Brittany Griner is going strong. It's totally...
Fans couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. The whole scene turned into the headline of the night, and even though it was obvious that Brittany threw the first shot, people were stunned when she finally spoke about the incident and brushed it off like it was nothing serious. No apology, no concern. Her exact words, it's basketball. Stuff gets heated like there's nothing personal. I like Rickea. I like her game. So no hard feelings or anything like that. It's part of the game. Sure, basketball gets physical. Everyone knows that. But clocking someone in the face and then acting all chill about it, that's different. Rickea took a hit, stood her ground, and now fans are starting to wonder if there's more behind that elbow than just competitive energy. Something about this whole thing just doesn't add up, and Rickea clearly isn't letting it slide anymore. This wasn't just bad sportsmanship, it felt like straight-up malice, and it happened with the whole world watching. But the drama didn't stop there. At that time, Ricky wasn't some rookie still learning the ropes. She had enough court experience to know when something was off, and the way Brittany came at her during a routine play, that kind of aggression didn't feel like a heat-of-the-moment slip-up. It felt personal. That moment lit a fire under Rickea. She started digging, asking questions, looking closer, and what she discovered flipped everything she thought she knew about the WNBA upside down. She'd heard whispers before, but what she uncovered went way deeper than she ever expected. Turns out, the league wasn't just holding secrets. It was protecting one of its star players under false pretenses. And yep, you guessed it. That player was none other than Brittany Griner. What hit Rickea hardest wasn't just what she found out. It was why the league was keeping it hidden. According to her, Brittany wasn't being protected because of merit or stats, but simply because she fit a certain image the league wanted to push, an image of progressiveness they weren't willing to jeopardize, no matter what happened on the court. And suddenly, everything clicked. Brittany's on-court confidence, the unchecked fouls, the cold attitude after rough plays, it all started to make sense. Rickea realized Brittany wasn't just bold, she was protected, shielded by the higher-ups, allowed to do things others couldn't get away with. And let's be real, this ain't the first time Brittany's name has been tied to controversy. Her career is full of wild moments, caught on camera, sparking debates over and over again. The only difference now? Someone from inside the league is finally pulling back the curtain. When everybody on your team is complaining about injuries from the same player, and even opponents are walking off the court bruised up after one of her plays, it's time to stop brushing it off. There's clearly a real issue here. The wild part, folks act like it's all exaggerated, but it's not. We've all seen the footage. Brittany getting way too physical, throwing elbows, pushing off, and making contact that goes way beyond regular game intensity. And even if you just started watching women's basketball last week, you've definitely seen those clips of Brittany going after Caitlin Clark. That wasn't defense. That was domination, and not in a good way. Rickea saw it too. She noticed the pattern, and it made her start connecting the dots, wondering what was really going on behind Brittany's so-called dominance on the court.
You play or can you not play? Do you have an advantage or are you at a disadvantage? It's not even that hard. Biological men don't play against biological women. Why? Because they will be dusting you off all day long. Do you think that Brittany Griner can play in the NBA? F no. She wouldn't even make any team in the NBA. Brittany Griner wouldn't make a single NBA team roster. None. She wouldn't even be on a practice squad. And you know what they do during training? This is what makes me infuriated. You know what the women do when they train in basketball? They play against men who are not professional because the women ain't gonna push them to be better. The men are gonna push them. And she know that, I know that, you know that. But they still get on stage and be disingenuous and foolish. Nobody's trying to block a transgender for playing sports. You just can't cheat, bruh. Why is there no trans man being ousted in sports? Why? A woman turned into a man. Why don't we see any examples? Show me an example of a woman turning into a man and winning first place. Because we know it don't happen.
That led to the real question. How does Brittany walk away from these encounters without a scratch, while other players end up sidelined for multiple games with injuries? Something didn't make sense. And it wasn't long before people started coming to a heavy conclusion, one that's been whispered about for a while. The only reason Brittany appears to have a physical edge over so many WNBA players is because, according to the growing speculation, she might not actually be on the same playing field as them, in more ways than one. Now, Rickea wasn't just questioning her treatment on the court. She was starting to question the foundation of what the league had told her was fair competition. And once those doubts set in, she couldn't ignore them anymore. Something deeper was at play, and she was ready to speak on it. Look, there's a reason why men's and women's sports have always been kept separate, and it's not about ego or favoritism. It comes down to science. For decades, medical experts have studied the biological differences between male and female athletes: stamina, lung capacity, muscle mass, height, agility, and how fast someone can recover after intense play. And what they found was clear. In most cases, men and women can't compete on the exact same playing field fairly. That's why every professional sport has male and female divisions. It's not about who's better, it's about keeping competition equal. Pure genetics, plain and simple.
Griner is, in fact, a man. One of the videos that give us cause to say that is this video. It is from her Instagram stories from years and years ago. And when it comes to Instagram, they use a combination of like AI detection and plus manual surveyors to make sure that no explicit content ends up on the platform. So clearly whatever AI detection system was used when Brittany posted this and it stayed up for 106 weeks was not like, oh, this is a female chest, we have to take this down. Oftentimes, if breast cancer runs in a family, women will preemptively get like double mastectomies. And there are some great surgeons out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't see any scars on Brittany's chest that would be indicative of a double mastectomy or top surgery for gender transition.
So what happens when one female player starts showing a crazy physical advantage over the rest of the league? It's time to stop ignoring the signs and start connecting the dots. Case in point, why didn't Instagram's AI flag that one video of Brittany Griner topless? The platform usually auto-takes down anything that violates nudity rules, especially when it involves women. But Brittany's clip, it stayed up. The AI probably didn't even recognize it as female nudity, and that raises questions. Big ones.
Brittany Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America on home soil, would not have too much to complain about. Especially something like this. Fans in every sport. She described the fans.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what sport you are. It doesn't matter what sport you pick. That's how fans act in every arena. In every arena. So, and then when you, clearly she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The merchant of death.
The merchant of death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according to the reports. That's who they let out.
Mm-hmm.
For her. You would think that you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like this wouldn't faze you at all. The fact that it does is disturbing. I'll leave it.
And here's where things take a major turn. While digging into everything, Rickea reportedly stumbled across some alleged medical records that might back up what a lot of fans have been whispering about for a while. According to what she found, Brittany Griner might not be who she's always claimed to be. If that's true, it wouldn't just shake the WNBA. It would call into question the rules, the protection, and everything the league's been standing behind. Rickea is not just dealing with on-court drama now. She's holding something that could blow the lid off one of the WNBA's most protected secrets. At this point, the only explanation that makes sense to some is that Brittany Griner's been protected, not just by the league, but possibly by higher powers. People are saying the government itself might have stepped in, trying to keep this whole situation buried to avoid a public meltdown. Think about it. If it ever came out that the WNBA knowingly misled paying fans about who one of their biggest stars really is, that would rock the league to its core. And the legal chaos, forget a few lawsuits, courtrooms would be tied up for the next decade sorting through the fallout. Now, as for Rickea Jackson, all eyes are on her. She clearly isn't done. It's not just about exposing Brittany Griner anymore. It's about pulling back the curtain on everyone involved. Rickea seems ready to dig even deeper and use what she's found to trace Brittany's ties to the people shielding her from consequences inside the league. And the truth is, the WNBA might not be ready for what's coming if Rickea blows this story wide open. Could Brittany catch on before it's too late? Will she try to shut it down? Or is it already out of her hands? Let us know what you think. Is the WNBA really protecting Brittany? And if so, why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe, share, and like. See you on the next one.